Welcome back to another episode of the Healthy with Heartland podcast. I am your host, Justin. I am also here with your favorite creative directors, Simon and Shannon. How's it going, everybody?
Good morning.
Doing well.
All right, today we have a very interesting topic for you. We are going to blow your mind. We're going to cover salt and all the misconceptions around salt, everything you think you know about salt. Pretty sure you're going to learn a lot today. So before we get into that topic, let's send it over to Simon and Shannon for some announcements.
Awesome. Welcome back, Heartland family. It's so great to see you this morning. If you're not already, make sure you're following us on Facebook. Make sure to check out the Heartland Foodies group if you have not. Also, you can check all of our podcast recaps on our YouTube channel, so check us out there, Heartland Home Foods. And then as well, our Instagram, so we have awesome food photos and recipes. Make sure to check that out. If you are a Heartland Foods customer, we have a great reorder special for you this month. Happy April, everyone. We are going to give you a marinated box of chicken, your flavor, your choice, absolutely free with your reorder. So make sure to take advantage of that before April 30th. And as I just mentioned, make sure to let us know what is for dinner. Check us out and join the Heartland Foodies group so that you can be a part of all the awesome tools, tricks, recipes, straight from all things Heartland. Today, we're going to get into some awesome topics like Justin mentioned. And with that, let's get into the podcast.
Yes, and we do have a giveaway. So
Yes, we do.
like, share, and we're going to give something away at the end.
Yes,
and it's not a cookbook today, I promise.
It's
That's
not.
right.
All right, so let's talk about salt. I'm going to make a bold statement. Hypertension is not a result of salt intake.
Boom.
Yep.
Huge.
So, just going to give you a couple stats to kick this off here. So, compared to the 1900s, hypertension is about 3 times as high despite salt intake being the same.
Wow.
You know, history of hypertension in the U.S. Here we go. Early 1900s, only 5 to 10% of the population was hypertensive. 1939, it was up to 11 to 13%. By 1975, 25%. 2004, 31%. And by 2014, 1 in 3 Americans have hypertension.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Scary.
It is.
Yeah. So Shannon, I think you have a little history of why that salt dietary guidelines changed.
Yeah, so I mean, just to kind of cover a little bit about, where did low salt advice come from? So if you're familiar with, the kind of thoughts behind eat a low salt diet or, don't consume salt because it's bad for you, the topics kind of came out around 1977. So what they did was they published dietary goals, which ended up becoming the 1980 dietary guidelines. So every 5 years, the committee meets, they talk about, the dietary goals, and no one questioned the science or the research behind why that was being recommended. And there was no true facts as to, why that information was being put out there, and people were being misled. And I can kind of relate it to a lot of the information that's coming out now about cholesterol. Maybe we could talk about that on another podcast, but similar things are happening where, so demonized, prior and in the past, and now we're actually doing the research and the information is out there and we're learning about these new concepts. So it's super interesting.
Yeah, I'm really glad to get into this because there is so many misconceptions. Sorry, I can't talk today. Misconceptions behind salt. Like if you think about even just using the term "you're salty," right? It's not. It's like
it's a negative.
It's
thing,
a negative thing, right? When you think about it. So I'm really happy we're kind of getting into it and going to be able to share that information with people to kind of possibly change the perception of salt and how much salt you're actually intaking.
And I just want to give a little bit of background. I think we're kind of covering a lot of the topics in the book, The Salt Fix, and maybe Justin will go a little bit more into this, but it's super interesting, and if you guys have a chance, it's definitely a book that we all recommend.
Yes, if you want to learn it firsthand, go on a deep dive here. Definitely read the book, The Salt Fix. Great information. 99% of the electrolyte content in your body is NaCl. Okay?
Yep.
You are meant to consume salt and a lot of it. So here's why. When they look at the evolutionary progression of humans, right, we have the exact same salinity, the same salt content in our body as the ocean. It's the exact same.
Wow.
Right? This is how they know that we evolved from sea creatures.
Wow.
Yeah. So we used to be in the ocean once upon a time. And our body has all of this functionality around salt that keeps us alive. It's stored in your skin. It's used for so many different things.
Yeah.
So, common misconception, right? Too much salt, bad for my kidneys, whatever.
Yep.
Just not true. The kidneys filter between 3.2 and 3.6 pounds of salt every day.
Right? Yeah, they're super efficient.
Yeah, it's 150 times more than the salt we actually consume every day.
Wow.
And they're designed to do that. It's totally normal.
That's their job.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we're told, 2,300 milligrams of salt a day is bad for us.
Right. And you should cut down your salt.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and what's interesting too is like if you're thinking about the difference between what your intake would look like just to survive, right, versus like what's your intake to like really thrive. They're talking about, I guess it takes 300 milligrams of salt to live per day. That's just to live and exist, right? But just like other essential nutrients and things we talk about all the time, like magnesium comes to mind. Why wouldn't you be striving for that optimal goal? Why would you be just living with the minimum, right?
And that's if you're not depleting it through exercise, coffee, things like that, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
Or even your diet. On a low carb diet, you're depleting your salt levels. On just different types of diets, you're not retaining salt. You're not eating salt.
Yeah,
right?
and I mean, just touching on that, I guess it could kind of be a combination of all those things. But I know that they specifically said, for someone who drinks, 1 to 2 cups of coffee in a day, right there, it's going to flush out 1 entire teaspoon of salt. 1 entire teaspoon. So if you're eating less than that just on your regular diet, you're already going to be depleted, and that's without sweating or exercising. Are all these things that can also contribute to it. So it's really crazy when you think about that.
And you said coffee, but it's caffeine in general. So it's tea. I mean, it's soda, which is even worse because not only do you have, the whole, salt aspect to that, but then you have the sugar on top of that. So you're low in salt and then you're high in sugar. And we already know, sugar is like super bad for you in general. So
That's the real thing that leads to hypertension.
Right.
It's not salt. In fact, what I found extremely interesting was that having a low salt diet is actually way more dangerous for your body functionality than a high salt diet.
Right.
Because your heart needs, it's going to work harder to pump the blood if you have low salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You need salt in there to pump blood. So you don't want to put more stress on your heart with a low salt diet.
Exactly. Yeah, and I guess what they were saying too, or what he mentioned.
Oh, but Justin, I just want to touch on one thing because it's super important that you said. You said, for the lack of like a low salt diet, right? But what's too much salt, right? Like I think they were saying there's a certain number, and you can back me up on this. It's like there's a certain number of salt that they pumped through somebody's kidneys, and it was like.
Oh, it was like a crazy amount, and it was like totally fine. I think
you can't consume too much.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but it's you would have to intentionally be eating bags of salt all day.
Right.
I think they literally asked the author, can you overdose on salt? And he said it probably would never be the case. And I think that's where, we were kind of talking before the episode started, and thousands of years ago, the human race was definitely consuming a lot more salt than it is even today because we were preserving all of our food. Everything was, salted. So the amount that we would be consuming today is not even close to that. And our bodies are designed to handle way more than we could even think.
Yeah. I found the study on Korean culture. They consume an average of 4,000 milligrams of salt per day. And they have very low rates of hypertension, right?
Yeah.
And they did a study, and they had a really high salt content people and then low salt content people. Hypertension was actually 13% higher in the lower salt people.
Wow.
And I think because when you're satisfying with salt, you're less likely to satisfy with sugars and other bad things that are actually going to lead to artery clogging buildup and things that are going to raise your blood pressure. Salt will not raise your blood pressure.
Yeah, I think they even said too, low sodium levels in the blood were associated with higher levels of mortality. So 42% of the people that are coming into the emergency room with something that's going on or an ailment are low in sodium.
Yeah, if you have a low salt diet, your blood volume will be about 10 to 15% less, and that's going to make your heart work a lot harder.
Yeah, and then just touching on that, like stress, and we talk about this a lot. Salt is directly related to stress because it's associated with your adrenals and your adrenal glands. So adrenaline is associated with being low in salt, and so all that's a deficiency or an inefficiency with your adrenal glands is what can make you feel like burnt out and like fatigued, or I'm just tired, I don't feel like exercising, and you could be wondering why all these things are happening, and it could be because your sympathetic nervous system is just overloaded from having a low salt diet.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you have people that go to the doctors, and then they give them this information back, like you said, from the 1977 goals to the 1980 guidelines. They get this information. They're recommending you to not eat salt, which causes other problems on the back end.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So then the next phase of this is, okay, now we know like salt's actually good for us. We're all going to have more salt. I hope we at least establish that.
Right.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the qualities of different salts, the different, what's in them, which ones should you be consuming. And this was kind of mind-blowing to me when they were like, pink Himalayan salt, bad for you. I'm like, what? I thought that was one of the good ones.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, salt has minerals, right? That's what's in it. But depending on where these salts are mined from, where they come from, there's different concentrations of these minerals. So Himalayan pink salt, that region of the world, the Himalayas, those salt deposits actually have trace radioactive minerals in them. We're talking like uranium, plutonium. That's found in those salts. So they said, you don't want to, because we're going to have, we eat a lot of salt, which is a good thing, but you don't want to do the pink Himalayan salt because you're actually going to put radioactive minerals in your body.
Just drop a bomb on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably something you want to be aware of.
Yep. Yep. They also said beware of, white sea salt, bleach. That's common practice. Real sea salt is actually gray. So you could buy gray
salt.
sea salt, but stay away from the white sea salt. It's all bleached.
Oh my goodness.
And but they said the Celtic sea salt's really good, but the healthiest salt on the planet actually comes from right here in the U.S. out in Utah. So there used to be the ancient, like the salt flats out there.
Yeah.
It used to be an ocean.
Oh.
And when it all dried up, you were left with those salt flat deposits, and those salt flats out in Utah, for whatever reason, that ocean, what it left was really high concentrations of magnesium and other really good minerals, and there's nothing bad in it. So Redmond's real salt, that's the brand. That's the highest quality salt you can buy. It comes in like very fine, and also sea salt, like coarse, bigger chunk rocks too. So yep,
That's awesome.
completely switched to the Redmonds.
You just do like a little bit in your water, or you just add it to your food, like how's that?
Yeah, add it to the food, and I'm not shy. Yeah, I consume a lot of salt, and I feel a lot better on a pretty high salt diet. So I don't measure it, I don't worry about it. I just put it, enough on there to where it tastes good. Same thing with beef, right? Like salt really brings out the flavor in beef.
Oh my goodness.
Definitely.
It really does. It's like
I'm salivating right now.
Yeah.
As you're saying that.
So yeah, don't be shy when you're seasoning your steaks. Salt them up before, cook them up, salt it after. Just get yourself some salt.
Awesome.
I got a visual right now, Justin, as the salt day. Yes.
That's awesome. No, I mean, the other thing I just wanted to touch on, you mentioned, magnesium. And another thing that they mentioned in the book is that low salt diets can actually be like a triple threat in reducing magnesium. So it begins to steal magnesium from like your bones. Of course, you excrete magnesium in like your sweat, your urine, things like that. But your body, if you have a lack of salt, it will start substituting that sodium with magnesium. So it's actually pulling that out of your body. And as we've talked about prior, magnesium is one of those things that a lot of people are already going to be deficient in. So, and then another thing to touch on is magnesium is actually what binds to ATP. So ATP is energy. It's where your body makes energy from. So if you are going to be low in salt and then on top of that low in magnesium, that's also going to be another factor, in decreased energy and stuff like that. So it's just crazy how interrelated they all are.
Yeah, your mood too. I mean, magnesium, we talked about it in the supplement episode, but it's, if there's one thing that you're not supplementing that you should, it's magnesium. It helps with your mood, calms you down. You're supposed to take it in the evening before bed. It will help you sleep better. There's a lot that magnesium does, and we're all deficient in it. None of us get enough magnesium through food like we used to. Like we talk about how just soil depletion, nutrient density is not what it used to be. So you have to address these things and supplement it to give your body the functionality it needs. Like, your body doesn't know that it's 2021 and we ruined our soil. Like, it only knows its evolution of millions of years.
That's right.
Yeah, that's so true. And another thing sodium allows for, just while we're on the topic of, like minerals and other important nutrients, sodium also allows for a lot of things to come in and out of our cells. So it lets vitamin C into the brain. So like for elderly folks as well, like vitamin C is super important for, overall health as well as brain health. So just in general, having a higher contents or a higher salt diet, it's going to be a lot better for them. Whereas where you find like in a lot of older folks' homes or in nursing homes, they're feeding low carb and low salt diets. So
don't even get me started on what they're feeding people in the hospitals and at these, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
It's very interesting just, that how these little things, these little shifts and these little changes in your diet can really help your overall body function.
And there's something in there as well about like the osteo, you know what I mean? Like, people think that...
Yeah, osteoporosis and how, women are prone to, osteoporosis with age, and how we mentioned that it will help. If you have a lack of sodium, it will draw out magnesium and things from your bones. So
from your bones, yeah.
It's depleting those things. So yeah, it's just super interesting, all the benefits that, salt can have on your body that I was not previously aware of before, diving into a lot of this research. So it's very interesting.
Yep. I just want to give a couple shout outs. Paul Tobin is watching, Todd is watching, Liz says she loves Redmond's, Zach is watching. What's up, Zach? Yasser's watching, Nancy West, Reese, Adrian, Rachel. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Hit us with some comments, some likes, some shares. We really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. And another note on that, you said Wesp, so let's give a quick shout out to Matt Wesp. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Matt. Hope you have a good one. But yeah, it's super,
Hope you get to play with some cats.
Super interesting. Yeah.
So, salts. I think we know now the misconceptions, where they started.
Yeah.
All the way through to what type of salt you should be having, if you are, because not all salts are created equal.
Definitely.
So definitely the Redmonds, I'm definitely going to check them out. But yeah, incorporating salt into your diet, it's not a bad thing. It's actually really good for you.
Yeah, and like we said, do the research. I mean, there has been so many studies, and The Salt Fix is a great book. If we didn't mention, it's written by Dr. James DiNicolantonio. So he's a doctor of pharmacy, but an extreme research scientist in terms of the cardiovascular space, and he's also an associate editor for the BMJ, so it's Open Heart Journal, and he's authored over 200 publications. So he said one of his passions in life is reading and research. So definitely one to take advantage of and learn some more from that. So
I'm glad there's people like that in the world.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That want to research, that really take it upon upon themselves to kind of go out and find these answers. Because if we were just still listening to that 1977 dietary goals, they had the low fat. That was the low fat diet that was in there, and now we know all the things that are wrong with the low fat diet.
Right.
Then they have these things about salt that were in there. So there's so many misconceptions with those guidlines.
Yep.
That I'm glad there's people out there.
And it makes sense, right? Because the way they did that research, like if you try to just think about how could we be so wrong about something like that, they would basically look at someone's blood pressure on a certain amount of salt, look at it with a little more salt, and be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, if you increase your salt intake, your blood pressure goes up a little bit.
Yep.
Right? Which is true, but it's not the cause of hypertension or where your blood pressure is to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the missing piece of all those studies, right? Like your baseline blood pressure is going to be a function of your cardiovascular health. Like not eating all the terrible foods, sugars, and things that are going to make that blood pressure get elevated to begin with. Mm-hmm. So yes, salt does impact your blood pressure from the baseline.
Yep.
That's it. So you can only elevate it a little bit or decrease it a little bit, no matter how much salt you are putting in. So the baseline of where your blood pressure is based off your diet and your exercise.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with salt.
And too, like just to add to that, the initial study that I think they did were before they had that committee meeting where they made those decisions, they did the study with 200 individuals and they were all hypertensive patients. And then they extrapolated that evidence, the weak evidence, mind you, to the entire population. So it just was mainly opinion and not really fact.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yep. We're just going to keep dropping these bombs every week.
Yeah, I think this is such great information. And like we said, comment below and let us know, what other topics you'd love for us to cover or what value you're getting out of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Should we talk about our guests for next week?
Yes.
I'm super excited.
Yes, we are all super excited. We have definitely talked about it and mentioned it before, but Next week on our podcast, we are going to have Matt Mayer, who is the head farmer, regenerative agricultural renegade himself, from Thousand Hills Farms. He's going to be joining us, talking about all their awesome products, their processes, their smokehouse, and I'm sure, Justin and him will go back and forth on that. But we're super, super excited to have him on, and we will definitely send out an email to all of our Heartland customers and following to make sure you guys know that that's happening 9:30 a.m. next week.
Yeah, one of the topics I'm super interested to ask him about is the soil regeneration, because he mentioned a couple things about that, and I think it's super huge to, buy up these GMO cornfields and turn them into these lifetime pastures. And then with the soil regeneration, like what we're doing to the soil and how long it really takes for the soil to regenerate and become actually healthy again.
Yeah.
I'm excited. What a mission, right? I mean, it's one thing to raise cattle the right way, but to do it in the sense of targeting GMO cornfields and converting them to grasslands, this guy is...
That's the renegade.
He's on fire.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's very exciting. We're definitely looking forward to having him on next week. So definitely tune into that. It'll be 9:30 a.m. on the Facebook page, Thursday morning, April 8th. And I think with that, unless you guys have any other things you'd like to touch, we can go ahead and maybe get started with our giveaway. I'm super excited for it today. Maybe, Justin, you could show us what we got.
All right. So a lot of you already know what this is. The Rufus Teague Barbecue Pack.
Woo!
And it's delicious. It also comes with the meat rub in the middle, Rufus Teague meat rub. And then you get 2 barbecue sauces, Touch-O Heat and Honey Sweet.
Yeah.
All natural.
Awesome.
None of the bad stuff.
Yeah, so that is coming one of your ways. One lucky winner. Make sure you go ahead and comment, share this episode with a friend below for a chance to win. We will do a live drawing just here in a few minutes. If you're just tuning in, I'll just go over our reorder special again today. We are going to have an awesome reorder special for you this April. So if you order before April 30th, order this month and you'll get a marinated box of chicken absolutely free with your order. And we have tons of flavors to choose from, so your choice, and we'll include that absolutely free with your order. Have we gotten a drum roll sound effect yet, Simon?
Not yet. There's actually been a bunch of people popping in. So
Awesome. Well, we definitely want to make sure that all of you have a chance to win our awesome giveaway today. So if you're just tuning in, make sure you comment, make sure you like, and make sure you share this podcast with someone you think gets some value out of it. Maybe someone who is interested in the topics of health and wellness, or maybe someone who wants to know more about salt.
let's see.
All right. Let's do a fake drum roll here.
Dun, dun, dun.
Awesome. And who is our lucky winner?
The winner is Juan.
Yay!
Yes!
Congratulations. You are our lucky winner. We will contact you, get this awesome Rufus Teague barbecue sauce and dry rub out to you as soon as possible so you can enjoy with those friends and family. And the warm weather is coming, so I know we're all looking forward to grilling, smoking, doing all that stuff, right?
Absolutely. It's the time. It's that time of the year. I can't wait. I'm going to be out there with the flat top, just steaks, all kinds of stuff. Vegetables.
Yes,
Flat top.
definitely get out those cameras, take some pictures, post them on the Foodies group, let us know what you're up to. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, Justin, I think you can go ahead and wrap us up and send us off, and we'll see you all next week.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining, everybody. And as always, Thursdays, 9:30 a.m. for the next episode. And as always, stay healthy with Heartland. Got that moo.